Hey everybody, what's going on? Dustin here with another part 4 to the SS Normandie documentary. And if you're actually looking at the way that I actually have it set up, I actually raised my tripod just a little bit higher than usual, than down low, instead of basically me having to read off from the script, because I kind of saw whenever I did playback, I kind of look and see my eyes kind of wander to one side, which basically means I was actually reading off my notes. So without further ado, today we are into part 4 of the SS Normandy documentary, and this is basically going to be talking about. Basically, we're going to be covering how a ship is actually converted into a troop ship, and we're going to talk about the infamous disaster that capsized the SS Normandy. From where we last left off, the Germans have invaded Poland on September 1st of 1939, thus igniting World War II. However, on December 7th of 1941, the Imperial Japanese Navy bombed Pearl Harbor, thus bringing the United States into the Second World War. A few weeks later, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States Navy, under the exercise of Angary, would take possession of the SS Normandie and later rename it into the USS Lafayette to be converted from a normal passenger commercial liner into a troop carrying unit. However, in 1942, there was a request for a 2-week delay for the first sailing of the Lafayette, which was originally scheduled for February 14th. However, there was supposed to be a meeting in New York and Washington planned on the 9th, but however, it would not happen. So you're possibly wondering, what is a troop ship? Well, a troop ship are ships that specialize in carrying soldiers during peace or wartime. They are normally drafted from commercial shipping fleets and were unable to land troops on the shore. However, loading and unloading at a seaport or onto similar vessels, either by tenders or barges. However, there are a lot of perfect examples of what a troop ship is. Basically, my biggest example is the HMT Olympic or RMS Mauritania, which were actually converted into troop ships during the First World War after being requisitioned by the Admiralty. However, the first thing to go was the luxury fittings, such as the wooden panelings, stateroom furniture, dining room furniture, etc. These would serve no purpose whatsoever and is replaced by bunk beds or hammocks. However, they would be put into storage on land for reinstallation and return to commercial service once the fighting's done with. Galleys, dining rooms, and various cabins would also be designed to carry and feed hundreds and even thousands of soldiers as they crossed the Atlantic Ocean during the First World War. Guns would also be installed, and any portholes above the guns would have to be covered or blocked off to prevent the concussion shockwave blasts from smashing out the porthole glass. These guns are not meant to go toe-to-toe with an enemy warship, but they are used to scare off submarines in case if they are threatened. However, dazzle camouflage would also be painted on. The HMT Olympic happened to have Type 19 Design AX, which is one of the most recognizable schemes of her career. The purpose of the dazzle camouflage is to not camouflage in the Olympic against the ocean, but to confuse the German submariners to put a torpedo on the target and lead their shot, that is, to fire a torpedo well ahead of the target where the ship will be heading. Submariners first had to ascertain the type and size of the ship that they are engaging, as well as the directional heading and bearing. From this could be derived on the ship's speed whatsoever, and all the data used to triangulate from this could derive a course for the torpedo. The dazzle camouflage makes it very difficult to determine whether the ship is coming or going. However, in World War II, you rarely see any ship that actually used dazzle paint, but a gray scheme was actually used to camouflage ships such as the RMS Queen Mary or the RMS Queen Elizabeth that we talked about in part 3 of the Normandy documentary. If you didn't see those two ships, and of course the Normandy all lined up all together, that's basically them. The Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth were actually requisitioned and later sent back to Europe. But however, fate dealt a bad hand to the Normandy finally. On the 9th of February, a workman by the name of Clement Derrick used a welding torch in the former Grand Lounge, but however, sparks from that torch actually ignited a stack of life vests filled with flammable kapok that was stored in the former Normandie's first-class lounge. Kapok is a tropical tree native to the country of Mexico. The fiber is light and very buoyant, resilient, and also resistant to water. However, its flaw is that it's very flammable as well. Kapok life vests were made to replace out the cork and canvas life jackets that we saw during the Titanic disaster. So, however, after the life vests were set on fire, unfortunately, there goes the varnished woodwork, which has not been removed, also went up in flames as well. And before anyone knew it, this fire spread rapidly. Now, remember what I said a couple of parts ago about the efficient fire protection system? Well, here's the bad news though. It was disconnected during the conversion, and its internal pumping system was actually deactivated. So that basically means they had to put out the fire by any manual means necessary. That basically means, grabbing buckets and filling up with water and just basically trying to douse the flames out as we go. There is actually a couple of shots that I did found on Discord of the Inferno. This is the view of New York City looking southwest in 1942. If you follow the trail of white smoke, that is where Pier 88 and the SS Normandie would be located at. But however, the smoke is just like the fog itself. As we look at the smoke itself, you can actually make out 3 distinctive funnels, and that is where the SS Normandie would be. Here I will zoom it in so that way you can get a good look at it. And there's the burning Normandy. However, the New York Fire Department's hoses actually did not fit the ship's French inlets whatsoever, which actually did turn into a worst case scenario. And the crew on board did try to put out the fire manually to stop the blaze, but the biggest problem was that there was a northwesterly wind that actually blew over the Lafayette's port quarter and swept the blaze forward. So imagine all of this is a fire right here, and basically this wind actually swept it forward, so that means that we have a ship on fire. So, however, and both captains, Coleman and Simmers, arrived to see their ship go up in flames. Firefighters on shore and in the fireboats poured water onto the burning ship, and the Lafayette actually developed a dangerous list to port due to the water pumped into the seaward by the fireboats. And there's actually included one that I covered on the History Inside a Nutshell YouTube channel by the name of John J. HARVEY, to which I'm actually going to leave a card up on the top corner of your screen for you guys to check out whatsoever. However, now, you've never heard this name until now, Vladimir Yorkovich. We've talked about him in part 1 and in part 2, and now here he is in part 4. Actually arrived on scene to offer some expertise and help, but he was actually stopped by the harbor police, and his suggestion was to enter the vessel and open up the seacocks. A seacock is a valve on the hull of a boat or a ship permitting water to flow into the vessel, such as for cooling an engine or for a saltwater faucet, or out of the boat, such as for a sink drain or a toilet. Seacocks are often called a Kingston valve. However, what this would actually do, it would flood the lower decks, making herself back down into the water and have the ship stabilized. But doing this can actually pump water into the burning areas without risking a capsize. And like, let's say this is the water line right here, and basically opening up those seacocks just to purposely scuttle the ship would basically just lower down into the water and just basically put out the fire from there. However, this was actually rejected by Rear Admiral Adolphus Andrews. Rear Admiral, are you freaking kidding me? This could have saved the ship. This could have saved the Normandy. And you just have to reject one of the ship's designers into denying their usage to save the ship. By sundown, authorities actually considered the fire under control and began winding down operations by 8 p.m. Water entering the ship through submerged openings and flow into the lower decks actually did little effect to counterflood, and the port list actually increased. So basically, right now we're at, after midnight, Rear Admiral Andrews ordered the ship abandoned as it continues to list as 6,000 tons of water has been sprayed onto her. However, firefighters from the New York fire officials are actually concerned that the fire could spread to nearby buildings, And during midwatch, the USS Lafayette actually capsized on February 10th, nearly crushing a fireboat. So basically, this was her final position as the way that she is, and came to rest on her port side at approximately 80 degrees. So this is basically what 80 degrees actually look like. So basically, all you're seeing is basically this huge gargantuan hull that just kind of flopped over. However, Rear Admiral Andrews actually ordered all the pressmen barred from the viewing the moment of the capsize to lower the level of publicity. Before everyone said, but aren't there photos of it? Aren't there videos of it? Actually, there is actually a video of it, mind you. The ruined ship of the Normandy can actually be seen in an Alfred Hitchcock movie called Saboteur. Now, keeping this in mind, though, is actually pivotal and controversial. A background shot showed of a capsized ship in the harbor as the antagonist actually glances at and smiles knowingly, which actually raised rumors of German sabotage whatsoever. Hitchcock said in an interview that the Navy raised hell about the implications that their security was so poor. You gotta remember, Pier 88 is basically right alongside a main road. Of course you're gonna have people seeing a ruined ship. There was only one casualty, unfortunately, in the burning of the SS Normandie, and his name was Frank Trenicosta. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a photo of him whatsoever, who was actually age 36 of the fire department, and he was actually from Brooklyn. 94 U.S. Coast Guard and Navy sailors, including some from the Lafayette's pre-commissioning crew and men assigned to the receiving ship, the USS Seattle, 38 firefighters, and 153 civilians were actually treated for various injuries, burns, smoke inhalation, and exposure. It is such a very, very unfortunate accident that this had to happen whatsoever to the Normandy, and it's basically unbelievable how a ship like this will catch on fire, and basically someone being so careless about where their sparks are landing. And think about this, if Normandy was not in World War II, this ship could have been saved. Alright everyone, so I guess that's going to pause the timeline for now, and I know what you guys are thinking. Doesn't this end the SS Normandie documentary? Well, actually, I got something more in store for you anyway for part 5. Basically, when we go back to the next part of the Normandy, it's basically going to cover the investigations, what happened to it, what caused it, whatsoever, the rumors of sabotage, and basically what happened to the Normandy after. So, again, I thank you guys for watching this video, and as always, hit that subscribe button, and as always, comment on here, like this video, subscribe, and if you're not subscribed but watch my videos, consider hitting that subscribe button and tap on that bell for post notifications. You will be notified every single time I upload. So once again, my name's Dustin, and I will see you guys in another video.